Okay, Janusz. Well, you might or may or not have noticed what I'm wearing on my top today. El Clasico is coming. We are upon the El Clasico. I'm saying the El Clasico. El Clasico week is upon us, obviously. We're very excited about it. Now, this is very interesting this time around because it's at Montjuic. Obviously, Barcelona can't be playing at the Camp Nou. So that's interesting in itself. So rather than focus on just this match, because we're going to be doing that extensively on our YouTube channel, we decided to pick out some of the big topics and some of the good stuff historically with El Clasico. And I would like to ask you your top three players in El Clasico, not named Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo.
And this was a tough one, right? Because I try not to look necessarily at the statistic, who's got what in those games, although obviously at times you have to, but so many big names. Ronaldinho, of course, this is not the last time I'm going to talk about him, but Ronaldinho, of course, is one. Zinedine Zidane and Raul. And you know me, this is you against me in a way, because is it okay to say that you're a Real Madrid fan and I'm more of a Barcelona fan, but I respect for Real Madrid as well. But Raul has been absolutely outstanding, not just in El Clasico, but I remember the Champions League for Real Madrid as well. So I couldn't omit him, even though I had other Barcelona players, and not I wasn't even looking at the Xavis and Iniesta, but like Rivaldo is another one that I love. So I go way back. So it is for me Ronaldinho by far, Zinedine Zidane and Raul.
It's weird, isn't it? Because when I was thinking about this as well, and as obviously I worked for Real Madrid television for a number of years, and so I got to see so many Clásicos firsthand from the side of the pitch, and even beyond then, continuing to cover La Liga and being sent over from America. And it's funny what you said there about Xavi and Iniesta, because they were all part of those absolutely iconic teams that did have Messi and Ronaldo in them. And so it felt like so many of those players delivered in those matches that it's harder for them to stand out. Ronaldinho is the first name that came to mind for me, because to get a standing ovation at the Santiago Bernabeu, I mean, how can you not think of him first when it comes to Clasico history? But there's so many names. I know it was hard for you to even leave Benzema out, because as the years went on, he just became so key in Clásicos as well.
That was the dilemma. I was I bought into Karim Benzema for the longest time. I think it's crazy, because I appreciated him more when Cristiano Ronaldo was there, because he had to sacrifice so much, right? He was never, and then he became, in a short period of time, I don't want to say he became Ronaldo, but he became just as important to Ronaldo. So perhaps I should have squeezed him in there, but there was something in me that just couldn't get him over somebody like Ronaldo. And again, I wasn't looking strictly at the statistics of what happened in El Clasico. Perhaps I should, but I don't think that was directed from our wonderful producer. But so yeah, Benzema should have been there. But I've learned to appreciate and respect Karim Benzema through the years, because I've always felt, man, oh man, he's in service of Cristiano Ronaldo. He is so unselfish, or he was so unselfish in so many games, where later he proved that he could have done it all by himself, which he, by the way, did. That's why it's almost unfair to give it just three, because there's so many great names.
I know it is, isn't it? That's what I was trying to think of. I was thinking, I thought about, I am allowed to say this, Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, in that epic season he had for Barcelona. I think he scored a winner in a Clasico as well. And then I thought of Gareth Bale, even in that Copa del Rey Clasico. That was such an iconic goal too. So I was thinking of it in terms of which players have really stood out, particularly in El Clasico. And obviously there's so many of them. And there have been so many Clásicos, and we don't have to go too far back, because there have been some really memorable ones, even in the last 10 years. But if you are to pick out one that's most memorable to you, for whatever reason it might be, what would you go for?
You already mentioned it. I mean, it's Ronaldinho, 2005, November. You know that I remember a lot of things, but sometimes, the dates, the ages get away from me. But this one, I didn't even have to look up very much. I actually remember that. And you and I cover so many games that it's really difficult. Sometimes they blend. Which year was it? Who? And, Messi had some great games at the Bernabeu as well, or in Clásicos in general. But I just think that one was special. Even in the first half, I remember where Ronaldinho, did some things, but didn't do him great. But you could see that he was just getting going. And in the second half, I think I remember that game, even though I worked more as a, and I have to admit, a little bit more of a fan of Barcelona. and Sergio Ramos in that game, and Salgado and Helguera. I mean, they all struggle. I mean, it's easy to pick on Sergio Ramos because I think in those two goals, he was just looking at the back of Ronaldinho for the most part. But even without scoring, he was absolutely breathtaking in that. And if you look at Ronaldinho and you think some of the greatest, just imagine what he would have been if he taken the game a little bit more serious, right? I mean, come on, we're talking about Messi, we're talking about Ronaldo, Pele, some of the greatest in terms of pure technique and entertainment value. I mean, Ronaldinho is unmatched at times, even when you compare him to Ronaldo and Messi.
I know, it's funny, isn't it? So I started going back because we were asked about this, and we were told we were going to have to think of some of our most memorable Clásicos. My first ever Clásico was at the Bernabeu, and Ruud van Nistelrooy and Raúl scored in that game. It was 2-0. But that same season, when it went back to the Camp Nou, that was the Messi game. So sorry to mention his name, everybody, if we are supposed to be keeping Messi and Cristiano out of this one. That was the 3-3 at the Camp Nou. It was so iconic. And that was when I feel that Messi really said to the world, hello, I am Lionel Messi. And then there's a few others that I remember, like Julio Baptista scoring at the Camp Nou on Christmas. That was like epic because Real Madrid didn't often win at the Camp Nou. I was there for Cristiano Ronaldo's Calma goal. But don't worry, Barcelona fans, because I also saw some huge Barcelona wins. Mourinho's first Clásico as Real Madrid coach at the Camp Nou. I was there working for Real Madrid TV. As you all know, it finished 5-0. And the best bit is, Janusz, it started raining and I didn't have an umbrella. So I sat at the side of the pitch knowing it was going to be a miserable night.
That's why you remember it.
So, and I was also there for the 6-2 at the Bernabeu, which was a massive Barcelona win as well. So I've definitely seen some of the iconic Clásicos in my time, and I cannot wait for this weekend's as well. There have been so many brilliant ones. And as you say, we can even remember many of them without Ronaldo and Messi.